Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How lovely to see you here, and how lovely to welcome two very, very tired people here, Marianne Elliott and Clive Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. The reason that they are quite rightly knackered is they've just opened The Light Princess, which had a wonderful opening, and after how many years' work? Five years' work.
Yeah.
Well done. It was great.
Thank
Fantastic. We're on to the sixth of these, of our national histories. It's basically a National Theatre version of Desert Island Discs in many ways. And I get to be the Roy Plumley, or whoever you want to be, whatever generation you are. And that means I can grant all your wishes and be very nice. And I've got all your answers here, so don't worry if you've forgotten what you said.
Okay.
And we're just going to go through these and perhaps talk a little bit about what we remember about the National Theatre as we celebrate 50 years on the 22nd of October. It's coming upon us apace. Let's go right back to the beginning and first memories. That's where we're going to start. And we asked people, what was the very first encounter that you had with the National Theatre? And for some people, that's going right back to Chichester, or for other people, the South Bank in more recent times. So what's your first, Marianne, let's begin with you. What's your first National Theatre memory?
My first memory of the National Theatre was, or one of my first memories was coming to see Guys and Dolls with Clive Rowe in it. Yeah. Wow. And I was standing at the back. I couldn't remember if it was the Olivier or the Littleton, but it was the Olivier. And I was standing at the back, right at the back. And I remember screaming to get you to sing Sit Down, Sit Down, Sit Down. You're right. And that was a really exhilarating experience. Wow. Although I do remember, because I think I might have been working in casting at the time, but I do remember walking to the National a lot on my own. So I used to go to the theatre quite a lot on my own. Still quite like it, going to the theatre on my own. And I had to walk through Cardboard City. Do you remember that? Yeah. And then walking back through Cardboard City on my own, and I was thinking, it's not a hugely appealing place to actually go to, and look at how different it is now. For
sure, yeah. So did you find the building and the journeys to the building at that point somewhat ominous and...?
Yeah, I didn't really like the building very much. I thought it was concretey and a bit austere. But I did love Guys and Dolls. I remember thinking that was a...
Yep. It's come up a lot in these, funnily enough. Yeah, strange that. But did you harbour any ambitions when you saw that Olivia stage, thinking I could?
No, not at all, no. God, no. And yet again, no. In fact, when I started here at the National, and I was asked to be an associate here, out of the blue, it was a complete surprise to me. I was having dinner with Nick Heitner in the canteen, and I just directed Pillars of the Community, and we'd done quite a bad dress rehearsal, and I thought he was going to tell me off, so I was about to cry as I was putting the food into my mouth, and he said, "Would you like to be an associate director?" And I nearly choked. And then quite early on he said, "We want you to do something in the Olivier." I said, "Well, I'd love to be an associate here, but I really don't want to work in the Olivier. It's just not me. I much prefer small spaces." And he went, yeah, whatever. Anyway, here's St. Joan, have a read of that, and it should be in the Olivier.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I really like the play, but I'm not sure about the Olivier. And he went, yeah, you'll be fine. And then ever since then, you know, I loved it, and I love the Olivier more than any other space here, actually.
Yeah. So, Clive, back to the beginning for you. Your first experience was off-site, we think.
Yes, at the studio. I did a piece called Trackers of Oxyrhynchus.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Before it came to the main theatre, Tony Harrison, I think. It was a scrap of a Sophoclean. You probably know all about it. A scrap of a Sophoclean comedy, which apparently is very rare, and he made it into a full piece, and we took it to Delphi and performed it in the Pythian Stadium at the top of the mountain in Delphi. And it just, I did a lot of stuff at the studio very early on, but it was just, I am a very small town boy, and coming to London was amazing in itself, but actually coming to an establishment that would take me to places in the world to do what I call playing out, because, you know, for me acting is playing out. It's what I did when I was a kid. You know, bang, bang, I'm a soldier, you know, stethoscope on the chest, I'm a doctor. Do you know what I mean? And having that kind of experience and being taken there and not having to pay to fly. I think the first time I flew, again, was with the National Theatre. So it's not just about the acting for me. It's the whole experience as a person, as a kind of, I use the word closeted in the sense of not being worldly. It kind of broadened my horizons as well, not just as an actor but as a person. So.
And do you remember when the first time then you did appear in the building, in the main house? Was it Trackers or Fuente? Or?
I didn't do the Trackers that came into the main house. No.
Fuente.
A young man called Mark Addy did my
Mark
part.
Addy, who he?
Yeah.
Wish him well.
Not bitter. I think the first thing I did here was Fuente over Luna, again, which was a fantastic job. It was we went out to Spain. We then performed it at the Lope de Vega Theatre, and it was incredible. It was a bit like taking Coles to Newcastle. It was extraordinary. Sure. They could have loved us, they could have hated us, but they absolutely welcomed us with open arms. And I remember on the first night, we were told that they had a special clap that they did if they really enjoyed it, if they really loved the play, and it was like...
Wow.
Brilliant.
Which is a bit like We Will Rock You.
We Will Rock You, isn't it?
But to have the whole auditorium stamping and clapping at the end of the show, again, was one of those moments of, how can life get much better than this? You know?
That went on for quite a long time. Did you stay with it?
I did, yes, I did it. I did both. I think it was twice it came.
Yeah,
it was on.
and then the international bit.
Yeah.
I mean, a great production.
A great production.
Come in on.
Yeah, fantastic.
For sure.
Fantastic. I was getting away with it. I don't know. I really was getting away with it. It's been amazing.
So we're going to think a little bit about people now at the National Theatre, and what we like to ask you about here is, we celebrate many actors and directors and writers, but what about the unsung heroes or heroines off stage at the National Theatre? Marianne, who have you chosen as your unsung hero?
Well, it's quite hard because there are a lot of people at the National Theatre who have ferreted away in the offices and corridors who do an incredible amount of work. The stage management teams being one. It's like working nowhere else. The stage management teams are incredibly efficient and passionate about what they do here.
There are some in the audience.
Are there? Funny that.
Done quite a good job on a bit of that show in the Littleton, haven't they?
Yeah,
It's quite busy.
Really killed themselves to do it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But I suppose the one person that stands out for me is Nick Starr, who's the executive director. And I think he is a bit unsung, actually, and I think he is a hero because he is a visionary and he is incredibly dynamic in the way that he sees and plans the future of the National, and the commitment and loyalty that he gives to certain shows. For example, Warhorse, it was down to him really that Warhorse ever left this building, never became a commercial success. We all thought he was mad, but he had a belief in it and he turned out to be right. Because of the way, just the way that he can see sort of into the future and plan very, very dynamically.
I think there's also the thing about that is the Nick and Nick team. Nick is obviously so sung, as the public face of it, but what goes on, well, I sit in the office, I see it too, is quite intense between the two of them, and it's a very strong relationship that has carried this last 11, 12 years through. Yeah. How much, I have my beliefs, how much do you think that Nick Starr is driving as well? Because everyone thinks it's Nick H who drives.
Oh gosh, I think Nick Starr drives hugely. I think he's a fireball of energy, actually. And he's been particularly good to me, actually. Really, really good to me, and very, very supportive and very pushing of me and helpful on a personal level as well as on a career level. But just seeing how he's changed the whole building since he took over with Nick Heitner, and he's cleared a lot of dead wood, what I would call dead wood, and the attitude of working here is really quite extraordinary because you really rarely ever hear the word no. That's not to say that there are certain things you can't do or you can't afford and you haven't got the budgets to do, but you don't come across jobs-worthy people in this building very often, and that's because they've cleared a lot of the dead wood, but also because they have an attitude which is anything is possible, which has filtered down, in institutions. Institutions take on the personality of the people who run them, I think, and that has filtered down through all the different ranks of the building.
And how about that? Budgets have come up a bit actually in the lunchtime series. How for you as a director, do you work on that crucial question of money with Nick? Yeah.
Well,
can you go and ask for more?
Not really. Working in the subsidised theatre, nobody really mentions money very much, whereas in the commercial theatre, that's all they ever talk about to the nth degree. So it's all about results and profit in the commercial theatre. In the subsidised theatre, it's not really meant to be about that. It's meant to be about doing something that's progressive or new or adventurous or interesting or worthwhile. You do get set budgets, and I have been quite a few times thinking, I can't do this in the budget, I can't do it. And I have occasionally gone to Nick Heitner and said, I really can't do this in the not Nick Heitner, sorry, Nick Starr, and said, yeah. I can't do this in the budget. And so he's found a way of sort of trying to be a bit more...
creative with the money.
Yes, creative with the money. And he really is creative with the money, I think. Whereas again, in other theatres, it would just be a blank. That's what you've got, and deal with it.
Yeah. So Clive, unsung heroes. What she said. It says you said it will not be easy to pick someone out, but you sort of did a bit. Well, a few. You've got a selection. It's all right.
The thing, I don't. People like Linda at Stage Door.
Linda at Stage Door, a recurring theme.
Who's been here for ages. Roger on the crew.
Also a recurring theme.
Who's been here for ages. Christine, who runs the canteen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't get into the higher echelons of, you know, where Marianne gets out. That's something that I know nothing about at all. I turn up, I eat, I do my job, I go home.
Christine feeds you, you
Christine
mean?
feeds me, yeah. I think, for me, does anybody remember a show called Hong Kong Phooey? I know this is going to sound like a really weird tangent, but remember he had that car, he used to crash the gong, and the car would change and become something else?
Oh, yeah.
Well, for me, that's the National. And the productions that they put on, the engine is always the same. And if any part of that engine isn't working properly, then the car doesn't run properly. And then somebody comes in and goes, I want this car to be a Datsun. And somebody, you know, Nick Starr bangs the gong and it becomes the Datsun, or it becomes a Triumph, or it becomes a Jaguar, or it becomes whatever that wants to be. But the internal running of it is always the same. And that's what the National strength is. It's not one particular theatre, it's not one particular person. It's the fact that the engine is such a superb engine that whatever you put around it will always be of the best quality. And I think that's why it's difficult for me to say that there's one particular person. Because without the smallest cog, if we say one of the cleaners, or when you're greeted in the building by the like Linda at the Stage Door, or when you come into the front of the theatre, if the front of house staff are not on their best and welcoming you into the theatre, that colours how you enter the auditorium, and that colours how you begin and view the show. So for me, the whole building is an unsung hero rather than any individual person within it. Not saying that those people are not. So that's what I would say.
Who thought Hong Kong Phooey would make such a good metaphor? It's really good. I like it. I'm quite happy to work in the Hong Kong Phooey Theatre. That's great. Moving to, again, talking of individuals, people on the stages this time, individual performances that you have seen or acted opposite or watched from the wings or watched from afar that have left particularly strong impressions with you. Marianne, did you choose?
Well, apart from Clive Rowe.
Yeah, of course.
Anne-Marie Duff, I was really lucky to work with Anne-Marie Duff on St Joan, and well, it's difficult to start really because she's got such depth and such what I call emotional articulacy. You know, she's articulate in many different emotional ways. Plus she's got, you know, she's technically very skilled, but I used to sometimes watch her from the wings when we did St Joan, which was a show that I was particularly fond of, and just be in awe because, you know, it would be a cold Thursday night. They'd been doing it for, I don't know, 80 performances or something, and I'd just nip down on my way home, and there she was, just giving it her all. And she was always so cheery and pleasant and generous as a person as well. So.
And is that in the rehearsal room too? I mean, you must have grown that performance together because it was so all-encompassing. It's such a big play and a big role, and it came out afresh. And
I think that's because she's so skilled, to be honest. I mean, I was just constantly bowled over by what she brought to it every day. Yeah. It was incredibly enlivening. As a director, if you're working with somebody like that who brings so much to the table, you can only ever jazz with it. You know, you're just lucky because you feel like I'm jazzing with you, and let's just try that. Oh yeah, that's great. Let's try that. Yeah. And you're working together, and it's a beautiful piece of choreography or music together. You don't feel like some people you feel like you're plastering the performance on. You might as well just do it yourself because every single moment you've plastered on. Yeah. Whereas somebody who meets you halfway, it's just glorious.
And she was taking quite a step with that iconic role at the National Theatre in the Olivier, your first Olivier. How did she respond to that? You know, it was a big moment.
She loved it, actually. You know, it was a room full of men. She was the only female in it. And she was quite sort of, she enjoyed it. Yeah. She's got quite a sort of zest for life. So I think she really relished it as an opportunity.
In the midst of that, we did the gala for Laurence Olivier's 100th, and I got her to read the letter that Larry wrote to Joan about seeing her play the role. And so it was obvious, we kind of cross-cast where we could. And there was this bit where she did it right out front. And I said to her afterwards, were you? She said, yes, I was flirting with Joan Plowright. It was the only way I could do that. And it was a lovely choice. She just played it as Larry with that kind of look of love that he must have had for her, and kind of caught it. It was really, but actually kind of quite a brave acting choice to stand out there and flirt with this legend. Yeah. Clive, the performances that have
I wasn't very good at pinning anything down to one thing, was I? Michael Bryant.
Michael Bryant, yes.
I never saw the seams with Michael Bryant. If I watched him on stage, I would watch a lot of actors, brilliant actors doing brilliant acting, and there would be one person alive in the piece. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It was watching Michael for me was more like being a voyeur than anything else. It was like you'd opened the door into his living room, or you were looking through the crack into his life, and he was letting you, whatever part. I will never forget his Fool. He was
Fool in Lear.
He was
with Ian Holm in the Cotswold.
He was just amazing. And I think there are a lot of actors out there that are brilliant actors. They are great actors. But there are also actors out there that are so good that you forget that they're acting. There seems to be a lot going on around them, and they just kind of perform. They just seem to float through the space. And I thought he was an absolute genius.
Did you ever do anything with him?
I don't think so. I don't remember anything that I did with him. I used to go
because he was in so much. It's quite likely.
Knock on his door and kind of bask in his presence every so often. Yeah. And then you get the opposite side, not the opposite end of the scale, but like the kind of, I suppose, again, a terrible metaphor, but if Michael Bryant is Tai Chi, then Henry Goodman is like...
Your other choice, yes.
He's like, I don't know, full force, I don't know what you call him, Kung Fu. He's so kind of, feral. That's the best way I can speak of Henry, in the way that he attacks his acting. But I think what people don't understand with Henry, because I have worked with him, is that his focus to his work is I want to use the word tantamount. Is that the right word? There is nothing more important in that space than actually doing the work. And if you're not doing the work, or if he feels that you're not paying tribute to the work and focus to the work within the space, then he can get a little bit kind of spiky. But it's because he loves his work, and I would like to have that kind of focus and belief in the space. I can get a bit kind of messing where I can mess around occasionally, Marianne. We know that,
Unlikely.
But I saw his Merchants of Venice in the Cottesloe, and it chokes me up just a little bit thinking about it now. I keep banging the mic. I think he's a stunning, stunning, stunning actor. And if I could be a tenth as good as he is, Michael, I'd be very proud.
You also mentioned his Nathan Detroit, because that was one you shared a stage with then.
Yeah. Again, because to have that kind of scale, to be able to play those two kind of characters, and it was absolutely one. But there's also Imelda Staunton, fantastic in Guys and Dolls, fantastic actress. I just saw her do her Sweeney Todd at the Adelphi. She was phenomenal. Another person where you see her in a space and it's very difficult not to watch her. Sometimes you just have to try and watch other people. You just have to try and look at other people while she's on stage. And that's not in a selfish way. That's just because she is so in what she does. She fulfills everything. Every moment is important to her. And
There seems to be another pattern emerging of if you watch someone playing Miss Adelaide, you learn how to be. It keeps coming up with Julie Mackenzie as well. So, turning to your own work at the National Theatre, we've said what is the most fulfilling production that you have worked on? Marianne, very in the present, I think, your answer.
I think the most fulfilling. I mean, I'm really lucky because I've had some very fulfilling moments here and a few nightmare moments as well. But the most fulfilling moment has been The Light Princess because I've worked on it for so long. Yeah. I've always wanted to do a musical.
Your first musical? I didn't realise this.
I was working with Tori Amos, who only speaks music speak, and I only speak theatre speak. So we had to sort of learn each other's language over the 5 years. And because it is sort of unstageable, you know, you read the stage directions and you think, okay, so she's light, she hasn't got any gravity, okay, that's the main protagonist. And then she spends the second half swimming, okay. And then there's one point where she's in a car and she drives through the woods and she fights dragons, okay. And then there's a really huge 11 o'clock number at the end of the show where she is fighting dragons and trying to spear her way through the wilderness as the prince is also trying to spear his way through the wilderness, and he's killing soldiers and she's killing dragons at the same time, right? It's just endless scenes of unstageability.
Or not. It's all staged. I mean, that's incredible.
But I had a wild and wonderful time doing it. We had not nearly enough time, and I will just complain about that for the rest of my life. We didn't have enough time doing it, but we had a hoot doing it. I loved doing it. And my father-in-law came to see one of the previews, and he looked very worried afterwards. And I said, "You all right?" He said, "Well, I am a bit concerned." And I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Because what are you going to do next?" I said, "Well, yeah, I suppose that's true."
Could you just talk about casting that central role? How did that
journey?
Yeah, because she's extraordinary and wonderful, and a find. I first saw her in here in Table, actually. You went, oh, there's a radiant presence. So you must have seen that.
Yeah, well, how many workshops have we done?
Four? I've been in 3, so I think there's 4 that you've done.
4 workshops that we did. So over the years, she was in all the workshops, and she played a friend, Edwina, a cousin? Something like that, of the main character.
Right.
And she was singing quite brassy numbers. And so we never really thought about her for the main character, but we did see a lot of actresses for that main character. And nobody we really settled on. And then Edwina got cut out of the story, just because she wasn't needed as a character. And then we started to think, well, we're awful to lose Rosalie, so could Rosalie play Piper? Well, maybe we should audition her for the main character. And she just blew us away. Right.
So it was there in front of you, and then
yeah,
you just
all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when the delay happened, obviously everyone had to stay with it. And everyone stayed with it? Because I remember it all being cast.
Most people, I think. Yeah.
A real team that you over those 5 years, then clearly.
Yes. There were people that we kept asking back, and then eventually got in the show. Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah. Clive, your most fulfilling. Very hard to answer. 1, 2, 3, 4 choices.
4 choices. I can't remember.
One is the Light Princess, so we can have a even Stevens on that.
Yeah. The thing is, it's a very obvious thing to say, of course, because we're here, and I can't explain to you what it's like to walk into a space and have somebody say, "I've written this for you," and then look to director and go, yes, actually, this is for you. I mean, those words aren't actually said, but to have such amazingly creative people come up to you and go, not only have I written this, but we want you to make this work within this space. It's you can't transcend that as an actor. There's the only thing better than that as an actor is that when you get the script and your name's King Darius played by Clive Rowe, and that's going to be with you for the rest of my life. Long after I'm gone, people will pick that up and my name will be in there. You know, so, and The Light Princess is probably one of 2 pieces that I've done that have been created around myself as an actor. So, incredibly inspired by that. And the team on it is just amazing. The actors on it are amazing. The acrobats are amazing. You know, the crew's amazing. It's been a fantastic experience in my life, a fantastic experience. I can't imagine what else I put to be honest.
Fuente, Trackers and Moxie Rinkers, Guys and Dolls.
Well, Trackers, I went to Greece and, you know, Pickling Stadium, first time. I played a satyr. Jumped out of a box with a huge phallus. I don't know what it was doing in the box. But, Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls, we should talk a little about that.
Guys and Dolls.
That was the revival, the
revival,
the
yeah.
Richard Eyre farewell present to myself,
Yes.
leaving revival,
Yes.
and you'd played the part before.
I played the part before in Coventry. Yeah, this is a little known fact.
Yeah.
1987, I think it was. It was my first job out of college, and I played nicely, and then it came around to do it at the National. And I think I was working with Sam, I think, if I've got this right. I was doing company at the Donmar, and Sam said, I'll put you forward. I've mentioned your name.
Sam Mendes.
Well. Sam Mendes.
Sam.
Yeah, sorry. I've mentioned it, and then Richard got in touch, and I came in, and suddenly I was playing this part, and then they said we're going to give it a gospel end, and I went, all right, okay, I'll do.
Oh, and put Sharon D. Clark in there, and
put
that
Sharon D.
won't sound
Clark
good.
in there. Oh yeah, I got a bit bitter about that, you know. Just we managed. I mean, sounds amazing. I mean, amazing. You know, I can't overemphasize the fact that. Every day, when I wake up and I come into a building like this, how enriched and how happy I am and how lucky I feel, you know. I could have been working in a factory. I could have been working at Warburton's. I could have been singing at the weekends, doing karaoke. I could have been on a till. You know, my life's been transcended by being in this environment. So when I say it's difficult to say which jobs have had a profound effect, every job has had a profound effect on me in some way that I've done.
With Guys and Dolls, it was a hit before you even walked in the rehearsal room. The production and the show, of course, is one of the great shows. So, but obviously Imelda was there in the role she had understudied, and how did you all feel coming to something that was such a known quantity in such a positive way?
I can only tell you that every night before Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat, it felt like being one of those black and white movies where you were tied to the track. I was tied to this track, and Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat was coming towards me. The locomotive, Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. And there was no way of getting out of the way of it. And I would have to sing it. And I loved singing it, and when I got to the end of it, it was like, oh, great, I know. Then I've got to do it again, and then you've got to do it again.
Why was it like that?
Because it had so much weight with it before I even got to do it. You know, I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but I hope that whenever this show is done, the next person to play Darius will have all the weight of my performance in this role, and that will carry that on stage, and we'll have to deal with that. You know, I hope that is in a very kind of perverse way the gift that I give by performing this part. It's a joyous gift, but it's also a terrifying moment. Once you've had, what is it, 1,200 people, is it the Olivia, something like that? Yep. Once you've had 1,200 people standing up on halfway through the show and applauding and going more, and having to do an encore, there becomes a precedent that you have to kind of try to achieve that. And as an actor, you don't want to do that within the space. You know, my Nicely Nicely wasn't about getting that second encore. My Nicely Nicely was about doing the part properly, and it annoyed me. Not in a horrible way, it sounds like I'm being negative, but it annoyed me whenever I thought, oh my God, am I going to get a second encore? It's not about that. It's about performing and making the character real within the space. And if that works properly, then those things come from it. So as much as if it was a gift, it was also kind of a little bit of a boon as well.
Second, third, fourth, fifth encore, as I recall. It didn't stop there.
Seventh, and it wasn't just, and the thing that, which is lovely about it, is that people talk about it as if as I was Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. Again, there's like 20 people on stage for that number, you know.
Though last time I saw you do it in the Littleton, there was just you doing it.
There was just me and a piano.
And you still got a standing ovation, and you could have done as many encores as part of a platform series. However, we can't see everything. No. So just a little moment to think about what we might have missed over the years that we wish we'd seen from any era because we weren't born or because we were working elsewhere. Marianne, what did you miss?
Carousel.
Ah, Clive.
Yeah, I've heard so much about it, and I have watched the film with my daughter because my daughter's a big musical fan, and I have never really got through the film. So I would be really fascinated to have seen Carousel. Yeah, because I mean it's become legendary, hasn't it? Did anybody here see it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just annoying that I never got to see it.
It was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, you said something extraordinary to us earlier, that it was only in Carousel that you discovered that you could sing quite as well as you could.
Yeah.
That seems quite late in having played nicely once.
But it's the truth, it's the
Amazing.
truth. I just kind of sung. I'd sung since I was a kid. You know, I used to go playing out with a friend of mine called Michael Ford, and we used to go to the local park, and I'd sing Fireball XL5 and Lulu's You Make Me Want to Shout. And, you know, that was our playing out. That's what we did. So, you know, kind of doing it as a profession was, I just sang. Okay, can you sing that top C? I don't know what a top C is. I'll sing that, you know. That was my attitude towards it. I was very lucky. So it wasn't until I got to doing Carousel and the reviews came out and the people were saying that I had a wonderful voice, you know, that I kind of went, oh, actually, maybe I can sing, like properly sing, you know. Again, which was fantastic. As I was saying to you, that my kind of shield of ignorance has got me through so much, because I've never really got uptight about things. I never really worry about things. I don't really want to achieve. I just want to be good at what I do. And I don't really, I mean, I care what people say, but that's not what I do it for. Does that make sense? It's kind of, so yes, get into Carousel. And then one of my favourite reviews of all times was on Guys and Dolls, which I am going to blow my own trumpet because I have it up on my wall, and I was referred to as a black Stradivarius.
Wow.
I was like, okay, maybe I can hold a tune.
Talking being black, playing Mr. Snow, this was, Nick talked about this rather brilliantly, about how he had to go and speak to the Hammerstone estate to get you cast, and that, in fact, I think, I'm not quite sure, so I won't say who, it was one member, and the rest of the family were all there going, do it, make her say yes, because they thought it was so brilliant that you'd be doing it. But it became a sort of, a bit of, is it a watershed moment in casting or an important moment in casting? It certainly came up when we did the history of black theatre over 50 years, that you playing Mr. Snow at the National Theatre was a very important moment. Did you know that at the time, or did you just get on with the job?
I just got on with the job.
Yeah.
I just got on with it. There was a point where, after we'd just opened, Nick came to me and asked me if I wanted to comment on the things that had been said in the paper about a black person playing Mr. Snow, and I said, I don't want to give it credence. I mean, I think we're more intelligent than that as individuals. Why should we be in a space that, if we cannot be colourblind in a space where everything is possible, how are we going to be colourblind in life? Why is this thing that we have, that the theatre is some space where everybody has to be A, of the right gender, and B, of the right colour? That just doesn't make any sense to me. We work and live in a realm of fantasy. You know, we have fantastic directors like yourself that cast me as Rosalie's father. I mean, that's just...
You're not a redhead, let's face it.
I'm not a redhead. I'm not a redhead. Well, no, I'm not a redhead.
Yeah.
And I just think I could have stood up and I could have said many things and I could have fought my corner, but I thought, you know what? That's what this is what the ignorant people want. They want a forum, and I will not give them that space. I will not give them that time. Let my work speak for me.
Which and it so did to, I think, so many National Theatre audiences who just went, oh, okay, that's what this is all about, and it's about a really fantastic performance in a fantastic show. You obviously missed it, Marianne. What else have you heard of its reputation that draws you to it?
I heard that it was amazing visually as well.
Beautiful. Bob Crowley, is it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Beautiful
design.
And there was a ballet sequence.
The ballet in Act 2, and I remember I was at the dress rehearsal where it was the first time it had been seen, and it stopped. The show stopped after the ballet, didn't it? Completely. We just wouldn't stop clapping.
No.
I remember Joe Riding coming on and just having to sit there for, it felt like 5 minutes. It was extraordinary.
Yeah. I actually did that ballet.
You did. I was about to say, the cabaret version with you and Joe Riding.
Yes.
You played the daughter.
I played the daughter with my beard.
Joe played the Barker. The Carousel Barker.
Yeah. And she carried me across stage as well. It was
amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Because actually, what I remember about that was it was really true to the choreography. You didn't just run around in a frock.
Every step.
It was amazing.
The only things that we did differently was that I lifted Joe rather than she lifted me, apart from this one point where at the end of it she actually kind of piggybacked me across the stage. Yeah. And I was probably as heavy, if not a little bit heavier then. So.
It was a very special version. Yeah. What did you miss that you would like to have seen, Clive? Othello. That's only just missed.
Just missed.
It's because you were working too hard on the light, Princeton.
Yeah, I'm
kind of busy.
Working far too hard. There's not really, I've got no excuse other than I missed it, really.
NT Live encore screenings happening, yeah, but you're probably a bit tired. This is what I heard.
No, I will go and see it, because Adrian's already told me off, so.
Fair enough. Sticking with productions, which costume, you don't have to wear it, but which costume particularly stands out? There's some wonderful designs here over the years. And what object, if you did want to wear it, would you wear, Marianne?
Oh, the gold shoes and the Light Princess. Because when we first...
Because it's so new, people may not know, so would you describe these extraordinary... I know you love footwear, Marianne.
I don't quite know why. I was so happy when they entered the rehearsal room, but it was a really euphoric moment because we had been in previews already, and you know there were lots of things to change, and as I said, you know, we were really up against it for time. And I remember saying to the designer Ray, I think we haven't quite got the shoes right, because this character is meant to be floating and she's got no gravity, but she puts on some very heavy shoes. So we had various shoes at rehearsals, and they didn't really quite say heavy enough. So we got to previews. I think we had about 3 previews, and I said to Ray, kind of a bit sheepishly, I'm really sorry, but the shoes are going to have to change, which is a nightmare thing to say to a designer at that late stage. And she just went, okay. And she went away and drew a few things. And she came up with the idea of having a gold bar at the bottom strapped to some gold stilettos, which I thought, well, that's a great idea, but it's never going to work, and how are you going to do it? Well, off you go. And she went away, and she then produced these amazing shoes, which are gold stilettos strapped with a great big gold bow to a gold bar. Now, I do love shoes, but but when I saw that, I thought I can die happy, because I've directed a show with shoes like that in it. It's the absolute antithesis to certain theatre that I dislike, and incredibly girly. And I loved the fact that they were girly. I loved the fact that they were incredibly eccentric. I thought that they said exactly what we needed them to say in the piece for that particular moment in the show. And they were just incredibly made by incredible workshop department here. I mean, how they stay on, I don't know. But they are fantastic.
And I think Clive Rowe in Panto could wear them.
Yes!
Really rather well.
Clive Rowe. Full stop.
Full stop. So, costume, Clive, for you.
Smee. My
Smee from Peter Pan.
My Smee jacket from Peter Pan. Because I had this lovely idea of, because he was his butler, his kind of boat boy, whatever you would call it. I made them do the epaulets, so they came off as dusters. So,
wow, really?
Yeah, so I could dust.
Oh, this is a jewellery nightmare. Would you like to swap?
This is a first night present, which is very Light Princess, isn't it?
Nice. It's
very
lovely.
me.
Very
Light
good.
pink. There you go. Sorry.
I'll drop my wedding ring in a minute. It's all fine. And would you dust with this jacket?
Yes, yeah.
Great.
Just,
so
not
it's practical
just with the
and
epaulets,
attractive.
just with the bits on the side. Like they're on Velcro. I can hear them coming off now. Ian McKellen.
Absolutely. As Captain Hook.
As Captain Hook.
And the building, National Theatre building, where in the building is a favourite place, secret or otherwise? Marianne, where did you choose? Oh, several places, Marianne.
I've got two places.
3?
I've got 3 places.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the two main ones are cathedral windows, what we call the cathedral windows.
Olivia Stall's foyer, the big windows facing the river with a great view of the clock.
Because we are in one of the most beautiful parts of London, but you can't see it from most of the inside of the National Theatre. You can't see where you are. So I like the cathedral windows because it's a place where you can have a bit of quiet, and there are huge windows out onto the river, which is great.
And I saw you doing a note session in there just the other day as well.
I do note sessions there, yeah. And the other place is the what we call the Blue Room, which is really a green room, canteen, backstage, because it's a hubbub of liveliness. And it's fantastic, and it's like nowhere else. So all the different actors from all the different shows, all the different directors and the crewmen and everybody who works at the National can amass in that incredibly loud, drumming kind of canteen, and it's comforting food. It's cheap. Sometimes it's a bit stodgy.
Nothing wrong with stodge.
Nothing wrong with stodge. But it's a very homely place, and I sometimes sit in there and think, God, look at look at all these amazing actors from all these different shows sitting down and chatting with each other, and people shouting across the tables going, good luck, I hope you have a good one, and how's it going? And it's incredibly supportive in an industry which is actually not at all supportive of each other at all. It's a very competitive, cutthroat industry, I think. And in my field particularly, it's very, very competitive. Directors aren't nice to each other at all. But in the green room, or what we call the blue room, they are, because, you know, you're sitting having chips and this dodgy food, and then you'll sort of pass the time of day, and how's it going? You're in the third week. Oh, that's always a nightmare week. Oh, so it's great. I love it.
And actually, the fact that all the office staff go in there as well, and the crew, you know, it is kind of wonderfully neutralising for all of us, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely.
Clive, where in the building have you chosen?
Well, there used to be a place called the Quiet Room. Yeah,
it's coming back. It's on loan to NT Future Project. It's coming back.
It's just around the corner from the canteen, and it's what it says it is. It's a room that was always quiet and meant to be quiet, and you could go in there and nap or just rest or meditate.
Where was that?
It's, you know, when you're going on the grey corridor, down steps, just on your right there, before you get to the stairs up to the Ollie.
Just before 3, rehearsal.
Just before 3, yeah.
And
make use of it. Well, you're too busy chatting in the canteen, really. You don't need it.
And any auditorium during tech as
During
well.
tech. This has come up before. Now, what is this magic of the tech?
I don't know. I didn't know anybody else had the same thing.
Yeah. We like this.
I always have a sleep. I always try and find some place in there while the tech is going on.
To sleep?
To sleep, yeah. Well, I'm normally so tired by the
because the quiet room is busy, then you...
No, there's something about... It's a bit like having the radio on. When I was a kid, I used to listen to the radio very, very quietly underneath my pillow and it would put me to sleep. Radio 2, Terry Wogan. There's something about that noise. It's very, very comforting. I think it's because it's a sound and a space that I'm very, very comfortable in. So I very rarely sleep on the floor unless I'm really, really tired. But you'll find me occasionally kind of lying between the seats, normally up on one of the top levels or in a box. If there is a box, you know, I'll be asleep during the tech. And there's something about it that I love. So.
And is that also having a vision of the show that you're going to be in coming together? I mean, when you're not lying down, I don't
think I've ever formulated it that much. I think what it is that if I really think about it, I suppose what it is that as a actor's journey, by the time you've got to tech, you should really have at least 85% of what you're going to do under your belt. You're normally very tired because you've been committed during the rehearsal process. You're normally quite stressed because this is the point, but just before a show starts, before you get into the press week or previews, and I suppose what I'm hearing subconsciously is the nuts and bolts being put together. It's all being put together. So I know I'm in a safe environment. Whether people are going to like it or not, we don't know because that's what you do. But in that tech week, everybody is kind of focusing into the same place, and you get the director every so often on the God mic saying something over the God mic, but it's screaming over the God mic. But that never wakes me up. It never bothers me.
Do you love a tech, Marianne?
No.
Would you like to sleep on the floor during
in a tech? No, I'm too much of a control freak, I think.
Right.
I find it really difficult waiting for things to happen. Why can't they just happen now? So I'm not particularly good.
That's because Clive Rowe is sleeping.
I'm asleep.
That's why. Okay, so our last little bit of this, our last question, our fantasy programming, your kind of great National Theatre Day. We've got a morning show, we've got an afternoon show, and we've got an evening show. So let's start with what we're going to watch in the morning, bright and early, let's say about 11. Marianne, what would your first show of the day
I can't remember what I said.
August Osage County.
Oh yeah, August Osage County, yes.
Yeah. Which was a visitor, Steppenwolf Theatre Company coming here, Tracy Let's Play. Yes. What is that?
I suppose it's kind of theatre that I aspire to be able to do because all those actors had worked together for a long time and they obviously had an incredible shorthand, and boy did that come across on stage, and they'd also improvised around a lot of the scenes. I thought it was beautiful direction, absolutely beautiful direction.
A beautiful thing to look at as well.
Yeah, no, I wasn't so sure about the set, to be honest, but I thought that it was brilliantly directed and inspiring because I felt like they were real people. They knew every nuance of those characters. They were completely committed. It wasn't performed as a show. It wasn't sort of facing out all the time. They were all around that table, weren't they, chatting over dinner, and I thought it was so real.
Ensemble work at its finest. I mean, that's what
absolutely.
It really.
Yeah.
When they did the theatre quiz that year, we put them against the National Theatre team, and we said, "Oh, it's just a bit of Christmas fun." And Tracy said, "No, we play to win." Whoa! Steppenwolf have arrived. Did they win, Sarah? No, they did. They did win. They sure did. So your morning show, Clive. Fuente over Huna. So off to the Cotslow for you.
Off to the Cotslow, just because it was kind of what I feel is my kind of entrance into the National Theatre.
And also ensemble-wise. I mean, a very powerful, again, same thing.
Fantastic company. Yeah, wonderfully directed, just wonderful. But I had a fantastic time in it. So, and I think it's a brilliant piece. You know, so, yeah, and The Light Princess.
And The Light Princess, yes, at the same time, randomly. It is fantasy, thank God. Matinee time, so we can have a bit of lunch.
Mine was The Pillow Man, wasn't it?
It was The Pillow Man, yes, it was.
Pillow Man because, well, extraordinary writing, but again, beautifully directed and amazing set. Just so impactful, so rich, so well imagined, so brilliantly thought through, so expressionistic at times.
Who directed it? John Crowley, that's right, yeah. And pretty amazing cast as well. Jim Broadbent, David Tennant.
Amazing cast, yeah. But that wasn't the thing that struck me most. It was the complex theatrical experience through the director's eyes.
And your matinee?
Othello, because I missed it, so I've been asked to...
How very practical.
I've been asked to see it.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about it, I heard it was fantastic, so it'd be nice to see it.
Okay, so we're sort of doing quite well moving around the theatres here between the two of you.
And The Light Princess.
And The Light Princess also at the same time, which is kind of weird. And then it's evening time. Marianne, you chose two possibles here.
Did I?
Yeah, you can have them both, it's fine.
I remember The Three Sisters. Was that one of them,
Yep, and Iphigenia. So two Katie... It was a choice of Katie Mitchell's. You could have Act 1 of one and Act 2 of the other, if you like. No, the whole things.
I think the whole thing. The whole thing. Maybe The Three Sisters, because again, when Katie does that kind of work, again, it's hugely inspiring. I've assisted her once way back in the day, and I know how she works. And the attention to detail is like nothing else. And the way that she gets the actors to inhabit what they're doing and believe in what they're doing and create the rooms and the world and the environment and the weather and everything, it's beyond belief. I thought that was extraordinary, that
And
show.
a play with such expectation and baggage and history, and to reinvent it in the way that she did like that, it was particularly extraordinary.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of critics went, you don't do that to Chekhov. Well, thank God she did, in my view. Evening time for you, Clive. You're going up to the Olivier Theatre. What are you going to watch there?
Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls.
Sorry. I just want to do it again and again and again and again.
Well, you're watching this day. I don't know if you're necessarily in it. You might support
God, all right.
Well, you can. You've also got... It's at the same time as...
Light Princess.
Light Princess. Of course. So this is some kind of weird morphing of a day. That's great. Hey, thank you so much, just after opening, for coming and doing this. It was the only day we could possibly fit the pair of you in. So we're terribly grateful for that. Thank you for sharing your histories. We'll be back on Monday. We have Trevor Nunn and Patricia Hodge, so we're going to a sort of different era on Monday, and I'll be chairing that as well, so I hope to see you there. But please join me in thanking two great stalwarts of the National Theatre, Clive Rowe, Marianne Elliott. Thank you.